Peter Mathews is a professor of political science at Cypress College, and he joins me now from Los Angeles. Great to have you with us, Peter. So we've had a roll of honour of some kind of Democratic politicians. How is all this going down with Democrat potential voters, though?
I think many Democratic voters are quite fired up and excited, particularly from the nomination as vice president of Senator Kamala Harris. That's put a lot of energy into the campaign. And then they showcased a wide diversity of people last night and the night before as well, from moderate Democrats to liberal to more progressive Democrats, and even a few Republicans that were there to show that there's a widespread consensus that the U.S. has to go back to its roots, to its ideas of democracy and working for regular people, and to get away from the chaos that's been going on in the last 4 years with the Trump administration leading the country. So I think it was a very good beginning, the first 2 days, and tonight will be very exciting when Senator Harris will actually accept her nomination today formally.
And Joe Biden, of course, performing well in the polls so far. How much of that is down to what the Democrats are announcing, policies and so on, and how much of that is the idea of anybody but Trump?
I think it's both. I think the policies are very much strengthening the campaign, because Biden did incorporate some of the policies that Bernie Sanders and AOC on the left side of the Democratic Party were pushing very successfully, like single Medicare for all was not accepted fully, but it was accepted in terms of the public option. Those kinds of things were made to bring in the left, and also the Green New Deal was talked about. AOC had a prominent position yesterday to nominate Bernie Sanders. They're trying to reach out to all wings of the party, especially the left and the right, left wing and the moderate wing. So I believe it's the policies, as well as the fact that people do want to return to what they call a normalcy, but basically a more sane way of doing things, a more measured way that would be constructive and productive and not so chaotic, especially with coronavirus and with the economy just tanking like it is due to coronavirus and the mishandling of it by this president.
And he has the image of somewhat holding the moral high ground, doesn't he? How powerful an image is that for his campaign?
It's a very powerful image, because it contrasts very severely with the present administration, who has been known to come up with half-truths and non-truths claims, not only about policy and foreign policy or domestic, but also when it comes to actual healthcare policy and COVID policy, to not be able to be believed compared to what Biden is portraying himself as. And most people, I think, accept that he's measured. He was a Vice President Obama when science was far more treasured and decisions were made by reason and science. I think there's a big contrast there, and it's a high ground. That's a moral high ground. In fact, they've been calling for it explicitly, saying we have to move back to an ethical and moral standard of running the country, unlike what's been going on the last 4 years. And everyone knows it, so most people do know that it's been really chaotic and very dangerous right now. So it's going to boost them a lot.
And before now, the Democrats have been somewhat fractured, haven't they? But this time around, there's more of a united front. How important will that be to the success of their campaign?
That's extremely important. In 2016, they were fractured to some extent because of the long-running election campaign between Senator Sanders and Secretary Clinton. And that was something that was important, to air the different issues, the more progressive side versus the more centrist side. But yet at the end, it came out to be that a lot of the Bernie people did not vote for Hillary Clinton, and in those close swing states, that was detrimental. In Michigan, Mr. President Trump only won, candidate Trump won by less than 0.5% of the vote. If all the people had voted before, that voted for Barack Obama or previously had voted, then there would be hands down Hillary Clinton would be in there. So this year, it's united across the board, across the different sub-ideological positions in the party, coming together for a vision of unity, of something, a renewal, and of economic development and a sense of being, back to where, not just back, but back to go forward. It's not just going back, because Biden has put forth some very good economic plans that were taken from the progressive side of the party as well, rebuilding America economically. So all of that's coming together for the party right now in their favor, and the polls are showing it.
And you mentioned Senator Kamala Harris, who we'll be hearing from later. How pivotal will she be to the campaign, do you think? How much of an asset is she likely to be?
She has already been a huge asset when she was picked by candidate Biden as vice presidential nominee. She's a big asset because she's bringing together an incredibly diverse ethnic background and certain progressive policy issues that she actually latched onto in her own campaign. She supports single-payer health care for a while. She certainly supports the Green New Deal. Those things are bringing in more the progressive side of the party under her. People are excited about her multi-ethnic background of Indian American background as well as African American background, and that shows the United States is truly willing to look like the country does, to make our leadership look like the country does, but also based on policy, not just image, not just ethnic identity. But all of this really helps to have someone like the first woman of color to be nominated for a major party ticket and very likely to be able to win this time. Now, I don't want to say this election is over because President Trump can still pull this off, believe it or not, if he gets enough votes in those swing states and still loses the popular vote by even 5 million votes and still wins Michigan and Pennsylvania and Ohio, those states, he could still get the Electoral College vote and win. And that's what a lot of Democrats are concerned about, and they're trying to fire up the base to get out there and vote and bring in some new people, including some Republicans, to help out.
OK, Peter Mathews from Cypress College, thanks very much for being with us on the NewsHour.
Thank you.